Rivals is a rank 3 defensive pilot. Let's read his abilities. So, first, he has a continuous health recovery 3 seconds after deployment and every 30 seconds thereafter. This unit's HP is healed by 8.7% for 26.2 seconds in 5-second intervals. So it's not even 26.2 seconds of continuous healings, it's 26.2 seconds like total, but every 5 seconds within that interval. So it sounds good at first, but it's actually not that great. Next, we have a defensive up. So basically increases this unit's defense by 35% for 17.5 seconds after a set amount of damage is dealt, received, or healed. More than likely, it's probably going to be received because Rivals is not exactly the best attacker. So when it comes to the pros of this Rivals, you probably noticed already, he has really high health, high defense, relatively low cost. Obviously, he's a defensive pilot, so he has 3 blocks by default. Some have 4, but it's usually 3. He's really good for the Ashford faction challenges. He's obviously a budget defensive option if you don't have the better defensive units. So I guess those are pretty good aspects to him. And he has a pretty solid healing and defensive increase abilities. Although the healing one kind of bothers me because, again, it's 5-second intervals, which sometimes means he could get killed off before he has a chance to heal himself, which is kind of annoying. When it comes to the cons of this Rivals, the first you probably noticed is the fact that he has low short range attack power, kind of like Toto, which is they're about the same attack power, but Toto has an ability to boost his attack where Rivals does not. And that's the thing about this Rivals. While he is a budget defensive option, he is like low tier of that select group because there are better defensive characters, obviously rank 4, but even like rank 3 and 2 that are better than this Rivals. So as I said in my last video on him, which was last year, he's a character that you only use as a last resort. I will say one quick story. I was trying to use him for the extra expedition levels on the Japanese side because I saw it at media he actually could be useful there, but you had to limit break him to 99 and awaken him to 15, and I wasn't going to do that for a character that I'm only going to use once and probably never again in not never again, but I won't use him in most situations. So that's the problem with Rivals. He's not terrible, but he's not amazing either. So essentially, he's okay, and I guess that makes sense considering who Rivals is. Now let's move on to the new Euphy. Euphy is a ring 4 strategy type pilot. Let's go to her abilities. A sign of a peaceful future. Well, we know that didn't happen. Upon deployment, heals the 12% of the health of all allied units within range, excluding this one, for 27.5 seconds. Guys, space, put a space there. Anyways, for 0.7 second intervals and reduces attack damage received by 21%. Or is it a multiplier? Man, these translations are so bad. Anyways, she also has a pilot power up high. Lowers the deployment cost of every Suzaku in your team by 4 and raises action speed by 21 times. Okay, let's talk about the pros of this Euphy. Now, you guys have probably looked at the app media tier list and saw that it is in fact SS tier, like the best character in the game. I think she's only worse than Anniversary Colin. And you're probably wondering why that is the case. Well, if it's not obvious, this character can act as a healer without being deployed on the battlefield, which means you can deploy her once spot, heal everyone in range, then withdraw her, and they'll keep being healed over time. As the effect stated, it's a, 0.7 second intervals for 27.5 seconds. And then you can deploy her again and keep the process going, but you can deploy her by other units, so you can cover a lot of ground with just one pilot, and that's just one of her awesome abilities. And of course it has a damage reduction, which is also pretty good. But the other reason why she's so broken is because she supports Suzaku, and specifically later on Angry Suzaku or the Knight of 7 Suzaku, because that one is really broken, and if you have her plus him, it's one of the most deadliest combinations in the game, even now in the Japanese version. So when you combine her buffs to Suzaku and her passive healing abilities that occur when she's not on the battlefield, she's literally one of the best characters in the game. There aren't too many characters in the game that can do what she can, and that's also what makes her so broken. Characters with unique abilities tend to be good even years after they come out. Well, not years, but I guess it would be years, right? Years after they come out, compared to really good characters that have awesome stats, but the abilities are kind of mediocre or something normal you would see in other characters. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're trying to pick which characters characters to go for. If the abilities are really unique, I would consider going for those characters versus the ones where you've seen that ability on like everyone else. So that's why Euphy's really broken. When it comes to cons of this character, I don't really have any. I suppose if I was reaching, she's technically part of the Britannian faction, so you can't use her in certain cases like those hard challenges that are limited by faction, but again, that's really reaching. When I first discussed this character, I was kind of skeptical. I thought that the other Euphy was better, and in some cases, I guess a normal healer is probably a better option than this Euphy, but from my current experience in the Japanese version, where I don't have this Euphy, but I have Anniversary Colin, who's basically the same character, or at least the passive healing effect. Anyways, because I have those characters, I find that they are more useful than healers most of the time, and you'll experience the same thing as well. If you plan on going after Angry Suzaku down the road, you definitely need this Euphy because the two go together so well. Even though this Euphy is technically an unlimited character, meaning you could get her down the road if you don't get her now, I would still heavily suggest investing in this character because she is that broken, and down the road, I'm talking like maybe a half a year or a year after this game comes out, if it's still out, obviously we don't know if that'll be the case, but assuming it will be, this character will be really useful for you down the road compared to others that will not, which even includes the Christmas characters. Now we just got a bunch of brand new characters in the game, and if you're curious how they rank compared to the others, check out my tier list for all the pilots for February 2024, and while you're at it, here's the Nightmare Frame tier list. Go watch those videos right now.